6:39, Claire's been in touch. Hi, Claire. It's my son Ronnie's 13th birthday on Monday. A teenager.
Oh,
Scary
happy birthday,
times.
Ronnie.
And he's going to the cinema with his two mates on Tuesday to see Barbie.
Yeah, I understand that.
And he's an air cadet.
Yeah.
You see, I find that quite interesting, just because it's like, you know, it's not too laddish for.
Have you seen Margot Robbie? That is why 13-year-old boys want to go to see the Barbie movie. That's what I say.
Fair enough.
I understand. And happy birthday to Ronnie.
Yeah.
Hope he has a lovely, lovely birthday.
13, blooming heck.
Oh, I remember being 13.
I don't think I do. Let's have a look at the newspapers this one. The Observer has Sunak and Starmer are warned, don't dump your green pledges, as Britain's leaders are being warned against a politically suicidal lurch.
The Daily Star says we're all going on a glamour holiday, with holidaymakers facing holiday hell as a 600-mile-wide storm batters Britain.
Michael Gove has said net zero can become a crusade. He's warning against it becoming a crusade. He's almost a bit sort of religious, he says, in an interview with the Sunday Telegraph.
And finally, in the Sunday Express, Rishi Sunak is pushing through new laws to protect freedom of speech for customers.
Oh, against banks.
I'll shut
to do with banks. Yeah.
Says that headline.
Or to do with banks, not just freedom of speech when you pop to Tesco's. Just say what you like at the tip. I mean, that could be rude. Let's talk to the deputy editor of Spiked, Fraser Myers, and broadcaster Liz Kershaw. Good morning, both.
Morning.
Good morning. Liz, let's start with the Observer, should we? Looking at these, a warning not to dump green pledges. So we've got both sides of the coin in the papers today.
Yeah, well, it's the Observer, so they take a particular spin.
Yeah.
I was reading the paper, you know, when you know you're coming in and you wake up reasonably early. So I was reading the papers online, and I was coming in with the story that politicians were being told by their parties, whether it's Tories or Labour, to dump these policies. So then I get the Observer and it's saying, oh, they're being warned not to.
Yeah.
There's two sides to every argument, so possibly they are. But we could get more of this from other papers, but mainly people are saying, like Michael Gove, for example, that we're going too fast and too hard on net zero. People are uncomfortable about having to change their cars, scrap the boilers, get heat pumps. How do you have a heat pump if you live in a high-rise flat? How do you have a heat pump if you've got a tiny courtyard garden? You know, there's all these considerations, and basically landlords are being penalised because you can't rent your property after 2028 unless you invest thousands to make your Victorian terrace house, which might be perfectly lovely, come up to modern building standards for energy conservation. Anyway, there are those who are saying, no, we must stick to it, and the word religion was used. It is like a religion, because with religion, I'm, convent girl, you say, well, how do I know, Sister Mary, that this happened, this is the truth? Or you just have to have faith, child. And this is what people are being at, you just have to have faith. All this net zero stuff, it's going to benefit us all. You get politicians like Alok Sharma, who's a Tory, was a cabinet minister, president of COP26, so people make a whole industry and career out of this.
And he cried at COP26, didn't he?
He did. Yeah.
He says, we've built up a broad political consensus in the UK on pursuit of net zero policies which are good for the economy, jobs, exports and the environment. Businesses support this agenda because they can see the economic benefits. And then you get... Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, that worries me slightly, because I'm not saying that's wrong.
I am.
No. But if the bottom of that list of why net zero is good is the environment, then that's something wrong. We shouldn't just be doing it to push economic growth.
Well, there he is, a Tory saying everybody agrees that this net zero policy is a good thing. And then you get Zach Goldsmith, the well-known heir of a massive multi-million-pound family fortune, made a career in politics, mixes around West London, the nicer, leafier place of West London, and he says, that scrapping the net zero target would be politically suicidal given the very deep and wide support for action on the environment that exists right across the electorate. Does he go out?
No.
Does he talk to people? Does he meet people? He doesn't. He won't be going to Thasda after on my way home from here. I've been all over Kent in the last week because I go down there to be beside the seaside, and I talked about people come up to me in a National Trust property, in the supermarket, in small shops, and they're people that watch this station and others, but they say, it's really good that these alternative points are being put across because we don't have a voice, and we get them on GBNEWS, and we love you being on this, but it's the whole thing that you can question, and you don't have to have this mantra and this doctrine. I think people like that, who are very privileged and benefit from these things, should go out and meet people across the rest of the country.
Well, meanwhile, in the Sunday Times, Fraser, of course, Sadiq Khan is being told to rethink ULEZ, which is supposedly an environmental rather than a money-raking-in policy.
Yeah, Keir Starmer is absolutely furious with Sadiq Khan at the moment because it is so obvious that it was ULEZ that lost them the Uxbridge by-election. Labour should have won that by-election. They had everything else going in their favour. All the problems with the Tory government. In the two other by-elections on the same evening, there were more than 20% swings against the Tories, and yet here, because of this ULEZ, because of the sort of punishing £12.50 a day charge that Sadiq Khan is about to levy on Outer London, the Tories managed to cling on. So it is a good sign of almost the opposite of what the Observer was saying, that actually, yeah, sure, people care about the environment, but when they're told you're going to be taxed out of your car, things are going to become unaffordable for you, your life is going to be made more difficult, then quite rightly they sort of rebel against that and say, actually, that's too much for me to take.
Well, they are going to have to rethink the ULEZ expansion, aren't they? Because London is a Labour city. I mean, they will not want a repeat of what's happened here in Uxbridge.
Well, exactly. It's the one thing that might give the Tories a chance at the sort of mayoral elections, for instance. Keir Starmer has gone around saying we don't want any more policies like this come the next election, that the Tories can put on leaflets and say this is, what a Labour government would look like. This is how you're going to be taxed and punished for essentially the sort of eco-sin of driving your car or heating your home or whatever it might be.
I think the polls, though, I was saying last week, the Labour's so ahead in the polls. And do you remember they said that, whether it's general election, the last one in 2019, or Brexit in 2016, people may say things to the pollsters, but when they actually get in the booth with the biro in the hand and they think, how is this going to affect my pocket? It's the economy, stupid. They will vote with their heads, not their hearts, and that's what happened in Uxbridge.
Well, yeah. What's this in the Mail on Sunday, Liz, about an arch Remainer who tried to prosecute Boris Johnson over Brexit has now made claims about how ill he was with COVID?
Yeah, he's saying that. And Boris, we were told Boris, we were all shocked work was a nation when the man in number 10, who was trying to keep us all safe from harm and catching it by isolating us in our own homes, was suddenly rushed to, blue light instant, suddenly rushed to St Thomas's Hospital, and it was reported that he was ventilated and he was very close to death. And we saw the doctors and nurses who stayed up all night with him, and this guy, who's made no secret of the fact that he hates Boris Johnson, he hates Brexit, and like many thousands of people, he just won't accept it and calm down. Marcus Ball is now saying all this stuff about Boris Johnson being poorly was just made up. It was just a scam to con us all. And a film was made, and he got people like Gary Lineker, as the Mail can't resist saying, the BBC's highest paid presenter, to say in this film the public deserve the truth. But now Gary Lineker has been alerted to the actual content of this film and is trying to distance himself from it because he really says he wasn't aware what the thrust of it was.
I mean, I think it's a wicked thing to say, actually.
I think it is.
When someone's been that ill.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the great ironies is that you get the sort of Remainers always saying, well, Brexiteers were deceived by lies. £350 million on a bus. Yeah. You were hoodwinked. You were lied to by these charlatans. And then now you're seeing what are the rise of basically Remainer conspiracy theories. You know, to say that Boris's illness was faked, or there've been similar claims about Brexit was done by Russia, or I remember around when one of Boris's children was born, people were saying that was fake on Twitter. You know, these kind of sort of they call them FBPE. I don't know if you heard Follow Back Pro Europe.
Yeah.
This kind of crowd on
block immediately.
It's like sort of QAnon for Waitrose shoppers. It's fascinating, but it's the side of politics that has convinced themselves that they're completely rational, completely sensible, have become completely mad and conspiratorial and are buying into these strange conspiracy theories.
Can I just say about Boris? I mean, these people plotted to get rid of him successfully in the end. They tried everything. Wallpaper, you know, Partygate was the final undoing, and he's gone. A democratically elected Prime Minister with an 80-seat majority has gone because of these plots. And I'm not a nutter on conspiracy theories. That's actually borne out now. But
although you could argue, the counter-argument to that is, well, he's gone because of his own mistakes.
Right, well, who highlighted them then? Anyway, I'm just reflecting on Uxbridge. The other thing I thought about Uxbridge before this Thursday's vote was the Tories will win. Why? ULEZ, but also I think there are a lot of Tories who voted for Boris as their MP, voted for Boris with the intention of him being their Prime Minister, really hacked off that he was removed undemocratically and maybe used it as a vote of confidence, as a protest. You know, we didn't want to lose Boris, we're not blooming well voting Labour. I think there's so many people out there who are angry that their choice in politics, democratic choice, is, you know, can be eroded now by campaigns.
Well, maybe so, but it's back to that argument. You can't campaign if there's nothing to campaign about.
Well, let he who has no what's-its cast the first stone. We've all got, I'm sure we've all got skeletons.
Well, I know you have.
No, mine's mine. All my mistakes are quite public.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look at the banks. The PMs are going to shut ones that are too woke, says the Sunday Express.
So the Prime Minister is promising new rules around banking to protect freedom of speech. This is, of course, linked to mainly to the Nigel Farage scandal, where he was debanked essentially by Coutts, this elite private bank. They compiled this huge dossier of all the disagreeable things that he said, including his support for Brexit, meeting up with Novak Djokovic, the unvaccinated tennis star. He's friends with Trump. He's opposed to net zero, which is interesting now that that's being now that you're allowed to be more openly critical about that after Uxbridge. And of course, it's not just Nigel Farage. This has been happening to all kinds of ordinary people. There's been stories in the papers about a priest who complained about the sort of his bank's.
Richard Tice.
Richard Tice.
It's all in there. Look, we've got to leave it there. Liz, Fraser, thanks very much indeed.
Thanks
Sorry to
so much.